Charles for HumbleMechanic.com. Today, we're going to be talking about the things that you won't learn when you go to tech school. Alright, so going to tech school can be a big time commitment, both financially and time-wise. And while you'll probably learn a lot of things in tech school, there's no way that they can teach you everything. So today we're going to talk about some of the things that you probably won't be learning when you go to tech school to become a technician. Alright, a couple of things before we get into the show. We got to talk about the sponsor of the day, which is Rain Eater Wiper Blades. Having good quality wiper blades on your vehicle is incredibly important. Not only that, it really is one of the easiest DIYs out there. So if you want an awesome quality wiper blade at a great price, check out Rain Eater Wiper Blades at raineater.com. And also, we are going to be talking about some of the things that you won't learn in tech school, but I want to make sure you understand I am not hating on tech school. I went to tech school, I had a great experience, I learned a ton of stuff. Had I not chosen the path of going to tech school, I absolutely wouldn't be where I am today. Well, because one, I probably wouldn't be living in North Carolina, but my career wouldn't be where it's at today. So during this episode, don't be thinking that I'm hating on tech schools. I'm just telling you guys some of the things that you're not going to learn when you go there. Now, some tech schools are going to be better than other tech schools, so you may learn a little bit about some of these things we're going to talk about today at some schools, where others you absolutely won't. It really all depends on your school that you're going to. It'll also depend a lot on the instructors that you have, because some instructors may actually focus on some of these things while others may not. You know, like I said, I like tech school. I like this training before jumping into the field. For some people like me, that was really, really important, and it helped me out a ton. Some of you guys don't need it. Some of you guys can jump right in and get into a shop, get into a dealership, and not have a problem. But for someone like me, it was really the stepping stone, the foundation of building a career as a technician. So let's get into what you're not going to learn at tech school. Number one, how to buy tools. You know, when I went to tech school, there was one tool brand that really was represented throughout the school. They're a big time sponsor of the school, and obviously all the tools there were this one brand. And no one ever talked to us about how to buy tools. You know, it was always, hey, you get a discount with this brand before you leave school. Hey, you get $1,000 worth of free Snap-on tools when you graduate the program. They never mentioned about buying tools on eBay or at a pawn shop or tool trucks, you know, not just Snap-on and Matco and Cornwell. There's other tool trucks out there. SMK, I had a guy that had an SMK truck back years ago when I first started. But there's more than that. There's Sears, there's Harbor Freight. There's so many ways now, especially today in 2016, to buy tools. Amazon, great place to buy tools. You know, places like Sonic that have kits and really cool packages of tools and toolboxes that you can check out. In addition to other ways to buy tools, no one ever talked about some of the dangers of being on the tool truck. You know, you walk on the tool truck and there's brand new wrenches and sockets and everything. I mean, even on the ceiling, it's everywhere. And you know, your eyes get really big. You're like, oh, I want all this really great stuff. But it's really easy to get into a ton of debt at a really high interest rate on the tool truck. You know, it's not uncommon to have a 15% interest rate when you get on the tool truck and have an account with brands like Snap-on, brands like Matco, brands like Cornwell. It's easy to rack up thousands and thousands of dollars. And the cool thing for them is they break it up by week. So yeah, 25 bucks a week, you know, $100, $125 a month, 50 bucks a week, 75 bucks a week, 100 bucks a week. You do the math, it's really easy to rack up $300, $400, $500 a month worth of tool payments on these trucks. So when it comes to buying tools, be smart, be careful, don't get caught in that trap. Number two, flat rate. Now, I've done shows about flat rate, but I'm gonna give you a really quick overview. Flat rate means that we're paid by the job. So whether a job takes an hour or 3 hours, we're gonna get paid the same. Obviously, the incentive is to work harder, do the job faster, or buy tools to do the job faster to get paid more effectively per hour. And the way they sell it is, hey, look, you can do a brake job in 30 minutes that pays 1 hour. So that second half, that 31 minute to 1 hour time, you're on another job. So now you're kind of getting paid for 2 jobs at one time. And if you're really good, you can stack and stack and stack, and you rack up what your effective hourly rate is. Well, they never talk about the downside of it. They never talk about how to manage time when you're getting your butt kicked on a really hard diagnosis problem, or how to deal with it when there's a customer on the other end that can't tell you, hey, here's 7 hours worth of diagnostic time, figure out what's wrong with my car. So they talk it up like it's a great thing, no one really goes into detail about some of the negatives of flat rate and how to get out of these sinking pits, that you can really get yourself in while you're on a flat rate pay plan. Now, flat rate has its own issues, kind of like we're not hating on tech schools today. I'm not hating on flat rate. It has its goods, it has its bads. I've done shows about it before, so I'll link those shows up. You can check them out. But they really don't teach you the inner workings of flat rate and how to deal with things when they're bad. Now, some of that they're not going to ever be able to teach because it does come with experience and practice, but the negative sides of it are really not ever talked about. Now, number 3, something kind of on the flat rate lines, but a little bit different, and that's how to budget your money as a technician. I did an entire show dedicated to this specific topic. So kind of like the flat rate thing, I'm gonna link it up. I really recommend that you watch that show because I go into detail and give you guys tips on how to manage your money as a technician. But the overview is no one ever talks about the seasonality or the ups and downs of being a technician as far as getting paid, making money. For me, the week after Christmas is really busy. The week leading up to Christmas is really busy. The 2 weeks before that aren't really that busy. Also, we're not far from the state capitol, so when the state fair comes, that week that the state fair is here is really, really slow. Leading up to tax time, really busy. The first 2 weeks of April, really slow. Now that changes from shop to shop, but you can sort of see trends in the industry as a whole and understand that sometimes we're gonna be slow, sometimes we're gonna be busy. And it's really important to balance your paycheck with, when you have a slow week, hopefully you have some money in your savings account. When you have a really good week, we need to be taking some of that money and putting it in our savings account to fill that gap of, the wave pattern of high paychecks and low paychecks. Think about how much money we're spending on tools and equipment getting started, especially early on. That becomes even more important. Not only that, when you're new, you're really slow, so it's even more important to budget your money properly. Number 4, working with customers. I really feel like the days of hiding the technicians in the back of the shop and never letting them up front to talk to customers is completely dead. Sure, there's tons of shops out there that do that keep the technicians, keep the mechanics in the back, and don't let them have any interaction with customers. But again, I think those days, if they're not completely dead, are really, really, really going away. We never really talked about how to, I don't want to say deal with, but how to interact with customers, how to work with customers, how to empathize with customers. Imagine what it would feel like if someone handed you a $2,000 bill and said, hey, if you want to get to work tomorrow, it's going to cost you $2,000. And a lot of people don't have that kind of money just like that to give you to fix their car. So, we never really talked about a lot of these customer service skills that it really does take to be a successful technician today. I was really lucky. That I had a lot of that experience going in, so it wasn't a factor for me. But I can tell you, I've seen guys come out of school and not have the skills to interact with people, let alone customers. They have this idea that I'm going to be able to keep my head down, I'm only going to wrench on cars, I'm never going to have to talk to any customers. Well, that's not how it works in a lot of places. In fact, customers love when technicians come out and talk to them about their cars and explain to them what's going on. You as a technician come from a place of authority. You speak with authority on what's wrong with people's cars in a way that sometimes a service advisor or a service manager just can't. So understand that you are going to most likely be working with customers probably a lot more than you really may think. Number 5, how to sell work to a service advisor. So the way a lot of shops work is I would get a car for a check engine light. I'll look it over, I'll diagnose the check engine light. Let's say it needs an oxygen sensor. Really easy, the overall catch of your check engine light's on and it needs an oxygen sensor. What I do next is I write up my write-up, I take it to the service advisor and I say, hey, this car needs an oxygen sensor. The service advisor now calls the customer, says, customer, to fix your check engine light, you need an oxygen sensor. Well, there's an art form really to selling work to an advisor. A lot of times advisors do know about cars. Sometimes it's more than customers, sometimes it's less. But in order for an advisor to be in a good position to honestly and accurately sell work to a customer, they need to understand what's going on. So if I just say, hey, this car needs an oxygen sensor, throw in my write-up, well, that's all that the advisor knows. But if I say, all right, what I did was I pulled faults, I found a code, PO 101, whatever oxygen sensor code, I ran all these tests, I've eliminated everything else possible. The only thing that it can be is an oxygen sensor. Or I found a broken wire and the only way to really get this repaired is to replace the oxygen sensor because it's broken right where it goes in. Now the advisor has some ammunition. Now they have facts. Now they have information to give to the customer and explain to them why it's going to cost them $400 to get their check engine light turned off. Understand that that's what the customer sees. They don't understand all the inner workings of a car and how an oxygen sensor and an airflow meter play into each other and work with each other. All they know is that it's going to cost me $400 to get my car fixed. So if an advisor can explain to a customer, here's why it's going to be $400, it's this much in parts, it's this much in labor, and we ran all these tests, that gives the customer a peace of mind in a lot of cases that just saying, hey, it's $400, you need an oxygen sensor, never ever will. And no one ever talks about that interaction between technician and service advisor and how important both sides working together really is. Because if one side is working against the other side and you guys butt heads, it makes for a horrible work experience. Believe me, I've had great advisors, I've had not so great advisors, and even if the advisor didn't know a ton about cars, working with them is a lot easier than working against them. And number 6, how to diagnose cars. Now, to be fair to tech school, there's no way possible in a classroom environment that is basically scripted, they're going to be able to teach you how to diagnose cars properly. What you learn in tech school about diagnosing cars is how systems work and how equipment works. So we learn how to use the scan tool, we understand how an airflow meter and an oxygen sensor work together, and you get experience of using the two, understanding the system and how to press buttons on the scan tool. But it takes time, it takes experience, it takes practice to develop your brain as a technician in order to diagnose cars. You can take someone that has no experience, fresh out of tech school, and ask them to diagnose cars, and I see it almost every single time. That first check engine light, they want to dive right in and find the most complicated problem and end up missing that the battery voltage was low because the battery's bad, or the fuse is blown, or the fuse is gone. So you learn all the equipment, but you don't learn the process. And there's no way to teach that in a classroom. You have to teach that in the field. You have to have a good mentor, a good leader, in order to guide you on this path and teach you how to develop your own process for diagnosing cars. My diagnostic process is going to be different than the technician working next to me. I may be faster with electrical diagnosis. They may be faster with vibration and noise diagnosis, but we have processes for each. His may be better for one, mine may be better for other, but it took time and experience for us to build our diagnostic process in order to get to the point where we could actually fix a car. Just like with so many things in life, the best teacher for all of these things really is gonna come down to having experience underneath the hood of a car. So there you have it, my top 6 things that you do not learn in automotive tech school. Again, to be fair to tech schools, a lot of this stuff, the only way you're really going to have a deep-rooted understanding of is have experience doing it. And I even pulled out my UTI Hot Rod Power and Performance 2 course book from UTI back in the day. This is circa, 2003, maybe early 2004. A lot of cool things. I took really good notes back then. I was a lot better student at UTI than I was ever in high school. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Question of the day, what do you think the biggest thing lacking in tech school teachings is today? All right, so if you like the video, please start a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe right here on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. So you can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, and obviously here on YouTube. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Power and Performance 2. Check out this list of sponsors that sponsored that show. That sponsored that class.